Right now, a place in Division 1 next year is at stake in the National League qualifying final. Halifax finished next to bottom of the table after the weekly round, and so they are fighting for their lives. Remember, 12 months ago, they were in Super League itself. York City Knights have battled through the playoffs to get here. Two clubs who are hoping for a big future. And Halifax will line up with Scott Grix at fullback, then it's Sharif, Bunyan, Hadcroft and Haley. Simon Grix, who's on his way to Warrington next year, and Ben Black is the scrum half. And then the forward pack, Simpson, Moxon and Birchall, Jamie Blome, who needs no introduction, of course, the South African international, Corcoran, and their captain, Patrick Weissner. And on the bench for Halifax, it's Thean, Anthony Farrell, who you'll notice is also their player coach. He nearly walked away from the club this year, but he has battled on. He's on the bench today, and it's Bates and Greenwood completing the lineup. Now the York City Knights, and Walker is their full-back. Then Buchanan's on one wing with Craig Farrell on the other, Langley and Spur in the centres. Scott Rhodes and Danny Brough is the half-back combination. And the props, Wilson and Sosi, and in between them, Lee Jackson, who's got so much experience, of course, Lee Jackson. Smith and Friend in the second row. Jim Elston is the loose forward. And on the bench, Kane, Albert Talipo, who began the season with Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, Sullivan and Forsyth, and Richard Agar is the coach, and he, of course, will be assistant to John Keir at Hull FC in Super League 10. So it's his last match in charge of the York City Knights. So the two teams emerge for this qualifying final. Out they come. And, well, York City Knights, for them, this is, I suppose, a fairy tale, but it's a nightmare for Halifax, particularly if they happen to lose. They are from different divisions. York National League 2. They actually beat Halifax in the Arriva Trains Cup quarter-final in June by 37 points to 14. And that was the moment when Anthony Farrell took a look at his future and said, well, maybe I haven't got one, maybe I have, and he decided to stay with Halifax and get them here to this grand final. 2 weeks ago, Halifax beat York 37-20 to claim this place in the final, and calling it a grand final, it probably is and should be called a qualifying final. They were relegated from the Super League only last year, Halifax. They must win, otherwise they'll be in National League 2 next year. Well, Barrow were promoted as champions in Division 2. Neil, York hoping to join them in the First Division next year, but they've had one or two upsets pre-match. I know Chris Smith isn't playing their fullback, regular fullback, who played with Castleford and St Helens, so he's got loads of experience. Scott Walker comes in.
Yeah, I saw Chris just before the game, and he mentioned that as late as yesterday was
Finished third in the Super League in 1998. They were involved in the Super League playoffs that year. It has been a dramatic drop, hasn't it, for them?
Yeah, it's been incredible, hasn't it? I mean, which is a massive game for both teams.
It is. They lost 27 consecutive matches last year, Halifax, but they have come into this match 6 wins from their last 11 games. Not good enough to avoid the end of season playoffs, but good enough to bring with them into this qualifying final, do you think?
I don't know. It's going to be a real tough game today. I think one of the keys to today's game is how Halifax angle the York halfbacks. I think Danny Brough and Scott Rhodes are good players for York. I think they will very much determine how the game finishes.
There's lots of experience there, and the likes of Jamie Bloom, Chris Birchall. You know, I suppose Chris Smith will be a little bit
much ground, and that's a positive for York. This is Jamie Bloom then, placed by Elston, and Elston just does enough. It's Rich Wilson, I beg your pardon, that pulls him to the ground in the end. And the kick comes in from Ben Black. It's a high one, testing Buchanan, and Buchanan's allowed it to bounce. Oh, and Halifax could be in here for the first try within 2 minutes, and Halifax are on the board. It's Alan Hadcroft, but the referee Robert Connolly is going to hand this on.
Well, it was an obvious tactic early on. They wanted to kick the ball high into that corner, and Austin Buchanan seems to have either lost the ball. Now, with the players on side, I think there is one player in front of the kicker, but I'm not sure that he goes on to challenge for this. So the other two players, clearly behind the kicker, are looking to set off as soon as the ball leaves his foot. Set off with good speed, and in fact, by the time the ball comes in, I'm not sure they're even within 10 metres. They're onside, No player touches the ball, but eventually it bounces up kindly for Hardcroft. He dives over, and that to me, Ben, is a certain try. We look to see the grounding. No apparent problem with that. And the smile on his face just tells you how important that is for the Halifax side.
Well, they would surely have been the more nervous going into this game. The National League One livelihood depends on this. And the try is given to Alan Hardcroft. Well, he got an early brace in the qualifying semi-final to give Halifax a lead they never lost in that game. And it's Alan Hardcroft who draws first blood here at the Halton Stadium.
What a tremendous start for them. Halifax had made very little ground in that set of possession, but the accuracy of the kick, I'm not sure what happened to Austin Buchanan, but he clearly lost the ball, and the speed of the chase provides a reward.
Well, you can see there, Phil, that he was in the wrong position. You should make yourself a lot deeper for the kick than you can run towards the ball. And Buchanan found himself in a situation where he was always running backwards, off balance. You cannot afford to let the ball hit the ground. It can go anywhere, and on this occasion it went to Hardcroft. Can they turn the 4-6?
Jamie Bloom then trying to do just that. He makes no mistake with the kick, and so Halifax go into a 6-0 lead. Moxon in it, acting half-back, they're going to get the short side with Bloom. He slipped the pass. It's going to be another try, this time for James Bunyan, and this time Robert Connolly doesn't need any more assistance by the video official. James Bunyan gets Halifax's second try. It's only his third try of the season. Both centres scoring, and Halifax in the ascendancy.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think the repeated set, York had done well to defend, but as soon as the referee wiped the tackle coming back, you always knew that the second set was going to be difficult for them. And the skill, experience, footwork from Jamie Bloom really created that. There was two attackers, two defenders, but he's able to suck in both players and release the ball with perfect timing for Bunyan to dive over in the corner. And a wonderful start now for Halifax. After being under pressure at their own line just moments ago, they've gone the length of the field. The length of the kick really from the tap penalty put them in the attacking position, and they've taken both chances.
Yeah, great work by the experienced Jamie Bloom, but you have to point the finger at a mistake by the winger. It was Austin Buchanan in the first place that allowed Halifax to score their first try. On this occasion, Craig Farrell, the left wing, found himself in no man's land, and as soon as Bloom offloaded, it was always going to be a try. Well worked.
And now Jamie Bloom has the chance to convert that try. Difficult angle for him, but I think he's got that one. So Halifax.
To Anthony Farrell, the Halifax coach, he realises they've got to get more points on the board. 12 is not going to be sufficient.
York are looking to put points on the board now, though, and Sosie first up. This is Scott Rhodes now, and Rhodes finds Simon Friend spinning away from the tackle of Bloom, who comes back for more and brings his man down. Promising situation for York, though, and Elston, and a little run around. Elston could be over. He's got over the line. Has he got the ball down? Jed Corcoran was there. The referee gives the try. Jim Elston. It's his 18th try of the season. Playing at loose forward this afternoon. Offered at hooker. And York back in this game. Look what it means to Jim Elston.
I think they recognised that they needed to register something. Been a great start from Halifax. You don't see that many run-arounds in rugby league anymore, but this one is executed to perfection. The speed with which they do it, Lee Jackson's experience to release the ball, and Jim Elston, as he spins around, he just goes hard for the gap. He thinks, I'm near the line, if I can wriggle over it, puts the ball down without any dispute. It's a clear try, spins in between the two Halifax defenders and grounds an important try for the York side.
Jim Elston likes playing at the Halton Stadium, as Danny Brough makes 4 points into 6 for York City Knights, so the deficit cut in half. Jim Elston with the try, Danny Brough with the conversion. The York fans realised that their team needed something there.
Well, the composure was quite superb by York, and as Phil has already mentioned, very rare you see a run around in rugby league these days, but The loose forward combination with Lee Jackson was quite superb.
It was Langley who went over the top there.
He's run well, Birchall. There's not too many guys wearing the Halifax jersey who are just taking it hard and straight. Birchall's one of them.
Kick comes in from Ben Black and it's bounced back towards the Halifax players, and Ricky Sharif is over! Ricky Sharif over for Halifax. The referee again is going to ask for video assistance.
Well, we think that they're onside. Touch judge is in a perfect position to see as well. But there's two pairs of eyes looking at that one.
No doubt about it, Phil. This will be TRY.
They've had some bad luck, haven't they, York side, with the bounce of this ball.
Well, to be fair, I have to point the finger again at Austin Buchanan.
But he has to be up a little bit, Steve-O, to defend in case they run the ball on the last.
Yeah, but you can see also that the centres should have moved across to fill that in, to apply the pressure. Second time, good thinking, short blind side. This will be TRY.
Ricky Sharif waits, and the try is awarded, and that will be a very sweet moment for Ricky Sharif. 3 tries in 4 York City Knights appearances last season, and now he bites the hand that fed him, I suppose, Phil. It'll be a sweet moment for the winger.
Yeah, very much so. You know, I go so far as to say that York have perhaps been the better side in the opening 20 minutes of this game. But that counts for nothing when the Halifax side have taken the chances. It sat up perfectly, and he did well to control possession and then put it down with just one hand inside the field of play. Gathers it, holds off the fullback and scores. Takes his chance well, as do the York teammates. But there's still a lot of optimism left in the York camp because of the way they've played the game up until the 3 tries they've conceded.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Phil. They've played some very attractive football of York, but and again they've utilised the wind that is in their favour of Halifax, and they've worked that left-hand side as they're running to it. And as Ben alluded to earlier, that Anthony Farrell, the Halifax coach, obviously thinks that Austin Buchanan is a bit of a problem. He has conceded 2 tries on his side, and it's going to be a big ask for Richard Agar now to lift the profile, get the confidence back into his side.
Jamie Bloom with another difficult conversion attempt, way over on that far touch line, and he's just pulled that again wide of the mark, so the deficit stays at 10. Involved heavily since he came on from the bench, Mark Kane. And now Brook away for Rhodes, and runners ignored 2 of them, and Rhodes goes himself, taken down by James Bunyan. It's Simon Grix there as well, and Grix follows up with another good tackle, this time on Spur. And now Brook is going to test the Halifax defence with the high bomb. It's Buchanan who leaps, and Buchanan could be over for York. Austin Buchanan is given the try. Austin Buchanan scored for York City Knights. Well, he was crowned the National League 2 Young Player of the Year on Tuesday. He took over that award from Danny Brook. It was Brook with the kick, Buchanan with the try, and York back in this game.
Well, champions in sport make mistakes until they come back to them. Austin Buchanan's shown already. He's not prepared to just wait and see what happens. He's got himself involved. That's a tremendous catch there with players around him. They've seen the kicking accuracy from York before in this game. It's pinpointly in the in-goal area, and Buchanan's decided, I'm going getting this ball and I'm going to catch it and ground it perfectly, and he does it with great skill.
Well, this occasion the wind certainly helped Brough. He pushed it into it and it just hovered. The wind brought it back. It hung inside the in-goal area. There's the extra 2 points. It's game on, Ben.
Absolutely, Steve-O, and the York fans, they're delighted about that. Austin Buchanan, former Leeds Academy player, he actually had 4 games in Super League for the London Broncos, Austin Buchanan, and a couple of tries last week to book York's place here in that huge win, 70 points to 10. Last-ditch Halifax defence once more. That's how close York are. Rhodes for Scythe, trying to get through Fian there. Sharif tried to go for the intercept, and that's back to 1. York getting the better of the offloads as well.
And this will be remarkable if the Halifax team can hang on here. Concerted pressure on the line. They're desperate, aren't they, to somehow find some little big hit there.
Massive hit there on Craig Forsyth by David Bates. Now Jackson, Elston, and now Langley. Oh, he gets the pass away, and Buchanan in the corner. Austin Buchanan, it was a fabulous pass there from Chris Langley. Just managed to smuggle the ball out, and Austin Buchanan gets his second try of the afternoon. Well, there seemed to be nothing on, but just brilliant from Langley, Phil.
Halifax had done so well, hadn't they? They knew that York would have to do something special if they wanted to come up with a try, and it was Langley's skill that provided that. Buchanan again in the right spot. It's a good battle between those two wingers, Ricky Sharif and Austin Buchanan, but the offload firstly then, it came on the top, the tackle count was wiped back to 1, and Halifax were forced to start all over again to try and hold out the York side. Elston's short pass flicked onto Langley, but just the magnetism of the ball brought Sharif into the tackle a little too late. Maybe he needed more confidence in his teammate Ben Black to do the tackle on his own. He kicked coming in, prevented a slight window of an opportunity for Buchanan, and that's all he needed.
Well, we made the point that Buchanan made a bit of a boo-boo early in the game, but he certainly brought them back into the match with those two, and on this occasion you'd have to point the finger at Ricky Sharif. He was caught in no man's land, and a great finish. Well, what a great fight back. It was all Halifax. They had all the possession in the first 20. It has turned around, and full credit to Richard Agar, the York coach. He has sent the message out to calm things down, and they are growing in confidence now.
Jackson turns it back. A good run from Kane as well, and just ducked under a high-ish challenge from James Bunyan. That's the last tackle. It's going to be a penalty for York right on that last tackle.
Will go for the 2. Didn't have to wait for his message from his coach, Richard Agar.
Saw the message, though, very definitely from Richard Agar to go for the 2, and this will put York in front for the first time. Danny Brough steps up, and he has given York the lead. Very first time in this game. 18 points to 16 now. The York fans are happier of the 2. It's only 2 points, but the pressure maybe now shifts to Halifax. And the scrum. This now is Chris Langley. Langley almost through. He's pumping the legs, just can't get away from the tackle there of Wisner. This is Wilson, Elston. Now Scott Rhodes. They're trying to stretch into the left-hand side. This is Chris Spur now, and Spur so close there when he's dragged to the ground. This is Jackson. Again looking for the options. Gives it to Talipo eventually. That's the last tackle then, and Danny Brough goes himself. Danny Brough trying to get over that line. And he's put the ball down. I don't know what the referee... And that's the last tackle, says the referee, Rob Connolly. Craig Forsyth back on the field. Maybe he can have a similar impact to his introduction in that first half. This is Mark Kane! And Mark Kane, well, the defence just melted away. And Mark Kane scored for York City Knights. Well, it was his 5 tries that put York City Knights' place in this qualifying final last weekend against Workington. And now Mark Kane, as scuffles break out between Forsyth and Farrell there. Mark Kane with the first try in this second half.
Well, there was some doubt about whether that was the 5th or the 6th tackle when they went with that play. Sat here next to Steve, we thought that should have been the handover. And eventually, after it seemed as though Scott Rhodes and Danny Brough laid an egg, the ball came out, they went for one more tackle, and Kane, who probably deserves a bravery award, he takes the ball up that often, just managed to crash over the try line. All of a sudden then, punches are thrown. Here's the last tackle, is that completed? The ball comes out, and another tackle goes on. On the back of that, just look how Kane hits the line, goes straight through.
Fully deserved, all the pressure, all field position, and what a time to come up with a 4-pointer.
This attempt from Danny Brough to leave Halifax needing to score twice. He's converted that as well. So an 8-point lead now for York City Knights. Remember, they trailed by 12 in that first half and came back themselves to 16 apiece, so they know that it can be done.
He releases it before. That's all right, let's play on. That is fine, nothing wrong with that. No held was shouted. And from there, he says to last, but, well, he said that's fine. I thought I heard him call out 4th tackle. 2 previous play the balls before that. Maybe a little bit of a controversy there. You'll have to check that out.
Mark Kane plays the ball. York won't worry about that. This is Telepo.
If you're now with the Halifax camp, you're looking at who can come up with a play to just turn the game around, because for the last 20 minutes it's been clearly all York. I know they've had one chance, a high kick which Buchanan took well, but they just don't seem to be competing really in this game. Another good long kick there, and Sharif lets it bounce. Oh no, it's going to be a
Buchanan is going to swoop on this. Vicky Sharif in no man's land. Buchanan finds Chris Langley, and Langley will score for York City Knights. The referee will give the try, I think. Robert Connolly awards the 4-pointer. Well, Halifax in disarray, and it was Vicky Sharif, the former York City Knight, who was to blame. The try coming in from Chris Langley. Buchanan sniffing the opportunity, and Langley with his 21st try of the season. Well, he was the 2-try hero of York's Aviva Trains Cup quarter-final win at Halifax in June. Is he the hero again today, Phil?
Well, I think he is, and again, we mentioned the kicking game from York. It's a potential 40-20, and that's the reason why Ricky Sharif, although he hadn't crossed the 20-metre line, maybe in hindsight he'd have let that go out, but here it is, the pass to the try scorer. He manages to take it in and just get over the line before any of the defenders get back. He forces it back inside. Oh, it's easier from the commentary box. Not that easy when you have to do what he's on the wing.
But why did he go for it, Phil? He would have been the only person to know whether he touched it on the ball coming down in the first place, and I think he missed it.
Well, the kick goes over.
It's his 5th successful kick of the game, Danny Brough. That opens up a 30-16 lead for York City Knights.
And fully deserved, Ben. But why on earth he didn't just let that ball go over the whitewash? It would have been head and feed to Halifax. We have checked out that the previous try, it was on the last tackle. Robert Connolly.
Around, Haley plays it now for Ben Black, and now Jamie Bloom. Now Farrell, they've got an overlap on this left-hand side. Gives it to Simpson, and Simpson dumps the ball over the top. It's going to be Hadcroft. Can Hadcroft stretch out? It's Buchanan who's there.
He's held up.
The referee is going to hand this one on.
Check from the ground.
Has Alan Hadcroft got another try for Halifax?
Well, it looked he was going to get over easily, but he just slipped at the vital moment. Tackle not completed. It was a great second effort by the centre. Now then, has he got it down?
No.
I don't think so.
Austin Buchanan's incredibly strong there. He holds him up until a couple of other players can get involved. First he gets under him, and look, he's holding him up off the ground. Kane comes in, they twist him over, spin him backwards, and I think they saved the try.
Tremendous effort. It'll be back to playing the ball. Hadcroft already has that in his hands now, in a good position. Doesn't hit the ground for mine.
Oh, it's getting closer the more we watch it, Steve-O.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. We'll see what difference it makes frame by frame. And Mr. Clark, I think you could be spot on. It could be TRY, couldn't it?
Well, I just said it wasn't a try. Now I don't know. The shadow doesn't help him.
No.
Benefiting the down to the attacking team.
Well, you'd think so, but difficult one for the video referee.
This is his decision. Crucial one, and the try is awarded to Alan Hadcroft. It's his second of the game, and a crucial one for Halifax.
Ben, and I don't think he thought it was a try, because he'd come back to play the ball 10 metres out. He didn't even think he'd scored it. That's how convinced he was.
Well, he knew he must have gone very, very close, and to be fair to him, Phil, they were not going to waste any time. It was a good build-up. Mention the fact that Halifax had to test their arm, and they certainly did that.
Yeah, they did. They moved it to the wide, to the right, came back, of course. Bloom looking for runners. Indeed, all of the players knowing, look, just keep it alive, wait for the gap. Simpson does a strong run, flicks it over the top to Hadcroft, and he's just desperate to get the ball down, which the video referee believes that he does. And just a glimmer of hope now for the Halifax team.
All the more so if Jamie Bloom can add this 2 points, and he has. Really has been an end-to-end game here, and now Halifax have the momentum. Halifax though continue to move forward. Corcoran gives it to Simpson. Simpson for Black. Black for Griggs. And Simon Griggs still manages to offload. Ben Black again. This is a great move from Halifax. Can they score the try? Oh, this is a magnificent try for Halifax. It's game on here at the Halton Stadium. It's James Bunyan with the try. And it's his second of the game. Fabulous end-to-end sweeping move from Halifax, and James Bunyan puts this one in the melting pot once more.
Ben, I thought they were dead and buried. It was that clever play from Lee Jackson, but unfortunately neither Langley or Austin Buchanan could be up there and read it with him. They've lost possession, and with nothing to lose, they throw the ball around. They've kept it alive well enough to give themselves a chance, and eventually Black finds the man Bunyan, who hits the hole back on the angle and gets the ball over the line. Well, now they're just one try short of the York City Knights. Hey, there's every chance they could go into extra time. They were level at the end of the first half. Who knows whether Halifax can come back and do enough to tie the scores at the end of 80 minutes.
This kick will be important from Bloom, and he makes no mistake at all. The gap is just 2. Halifax 28, York City Knights 30. This is he now playing it for that man James Bunyan, and now Farrell gets through the first line of defence. Great strong run from Farrell, leading by example the player coach. This is Hadcroft. Halifax have a new lift. Hadcroft away for Bunyan once more. Everyone wants it in the Halifax side and goes everywhere. Halifax are going to have 6 more, I think, here. The referee wipes the tackle count clean, and this is Ben Feehan down the Halifax right-hand side. Is there a sting in the tail now for York City Knights? 5 minutes to go. It's with Jamie Bloom. Bloom trying to get around Buchanan. He gets through that, and Sullivan it is who pulls it to the ground. Can't prevent the offload though. And Halifax marauding forward once more. And it's Simon Griggs. Simon Griggs scores for Halifax. Oh, the delight on the Halifax touchline, on the Halifax supporters. And they have turned such a deficit. 30 points to 16. Look what it means to the Halifax supporters. What a try from Scott Griggs. He got a try in that Rio James Cup quarter-final defeat and in the qualifying semi-final victory. So it's 3 out of 3 against York City Knights for Scott Griggs.
Well, Eddie Hemming said at half-time that these games provide us with some excitement. I don't think they could have predicted this. What a comeback from the Halifax side. And believe me, this isn't over yet. Halifax have scored, but York have enough quality players who can come up with something if they can keep the heads. They need to remain positive. Halifax have done what they needed to do. They've got themselves back in front of the scoreboard. But this has still got time to go yet in this game. Jamie Bloom spins out of one tackle, and it's just basically the last 10 minutes. We haven't seen this Halifax side play until now. They've kept the ball alive, and the number of players who are supporting the ball carrier has been the thing that's kept them, well, giving them a chance of maybe surviving in National League One.
Jamie Bloom then to put further daylight between his Halifax side and York City Knights. Makes no mistake, but right in front of the post. And so, as we enter the twilight of this game, Halifax it is who retake the lead. 3 tries in 5 minutes has turned this match once more on its head. Will be the end of it. Comes back for Scott Griggs for the 1-pointer. It ricochets. Could go anywhere, and Anthony Farrell, well, if he leaned across there.
He didn't need to though, did it?
That is the last action of this game. And Halifax retain their status in National League One. Look what it means to Anthony Farrell, the player coach, who is surrounded by his players. Look what missing out means to Danny Brough for the York City Knights. They've come a long way in just their 2nd year since reforming. But John Simpson there, Simon Friend can't believe it. So cruel to lose in a final. But it's not going to be this year for York. They're not going to be promoted. It's Halifax who will stay in National League One. It's finished here at the Halton Stadium. Halifax 34, York City Knights 30.
8 years of the competition's existence. 1998 they finished third and were involved in the inaugural Super League playoff series. They lost to Leeds and at home to St Helens. But neither of those two matches were as heart-stopping as all of this.